Joining me right now is the Atlas Organization's Jonathan Ward. He is the author of the book, China's Vision of Victory. And Jonathan, it's great to see you again. Welcome back.
Hi, Maria. Good to be back.
So, this problem that you have identified of China's authoritarianism has not gone away. In fact, Xi Jinping has only become stronger and stronger, modeling himself after Mao Zedong. Your thoughts on how America should be dealing with this?
Hi, Maria. Well, obviously, with tonight's virtual meeting, I mean, there are many who will be anticipating something important coming out of this. But at the end of the day, I think there's very little that we're going to accomplish directly by dealing with Xi Jinping or the Chinese Communist Party. At this point, what the United States really requires is a new grand strategy to ultimately overcome this challenge from China. We haven't had to do this since the early Cold War. We haven't had to do this since Eisenhower's Solarium project, since the days of George F. Kennan. And today we're confronted with a superpower adversary that is just as hostile as the Soviet Union, potentially much more dangerous, both as a military power and also as a major economy. So we're going to have to begin dealing with those issues and returning ourselves to a position of power over Beijing as we're gradually seeing that slip away. I mean, the Pentagon's annual report to Congress just came out, explaining that China's nuclear arsenal is expanding massively. Their, battle force, their navy is expanding up to 460 ships by the end of the decade. So they're turning all the economic power into military power. We've enabled all that. Still, our business community is seeking, to operate within the China market. Our financiers are seeking to invest in China. We have to pull all of that back. We have to win an economic competition and maintain deterrence. We're going to have a superior military together with our allies. But above all, we're going to have to start reducing our economic relations with China. That is how they grow. It's how they've gotten this big. And that's what we really need to be focused on. I think talking to the Communist Party accomplishes very little, honestly.
Jonathan, I don't think that this administration is focused on that. I mean, you have been spot on this issue for upwards of 5 years and beyond. We even have people like Boston Celtics center Enes Kanter putting pressure on Biden to challenge Xi. He tweeted out this: stop playing games with bullies and do what you promised to the world. Prioritize human rights. But, Jonathan, we know that while Xi Jinping has been very clear that he's expecting China to overtake the United States as the #1 superpower, Joe Biden hasn't done anything about it. I mean, look, do you see any policy out of this administration with any teeth?
Well, I think they've conducted, one thing that does matter is the secure supply chains review. I mean, that's still just a study at this point, but that's in the right direction. I mean, they seem to understand the importance of securing our supply chains, rebuilding our industrial base. But what you really need the White House and the Congress to do is to start taking on America's business leaders and holding them accountable, particularly in the finance sector. At this point, as a country, we're not yet coherent. So even as there's just 1,000 op-eds on the China challenge, what's being done about the fact that, Wall Street is looking to expand in there. Pretty much every CEO is looking to build their business in a country that's preparing for war with the United States. That's just not really a rational risk assessment, in my opinion. And I think we could have a much harder policy in that regard. And in the past administration, when you had investment bans, when you had export controls, if you're able to expand that across the U.S. alliance system, get the European allies on board with things like CFIUS, with things like export controls and investment bans, get that across allied Asia, start to do that, get our business leaders to focus on building the United States. Once upon a time, they were the arsenal of democracy. Today, they're all looking to push into the China market further and further. And at the end of the day, you're talking about a country that is preparing for war with its neighbors. So I think that's no longer a rational thing to do as a business leader. And what we really need to see is for policy and finance and business leaders to come together to prepare to win an economic contest with China. We can't do this without America's CEOs, and we're just not having that conversation in America today. They're in an alternate universe when it comes to China,
right.
And we need to bring them back to reality so that they understand the national security implications of what they're doing.
Well, and yet we're supposed to go and make believe that we're all in on the Winter Olympics happening this February. People want to boycott the 2022 Winter Olympics because it's in Beijing. Is that going to come up tonight? Look, what about the fact that just last week, Jonathan, we learned that the CCP was doing target practice and they were using fake U.S. military jets, fake U.S. military planes that they created as their target practice for their military drills.
Well, exactly.
You know, I mean, it's as if they're taunting us.
Right. They had the mock-up of a U.S. aircraft carrier on a rail unit out in the Xinjiang deserts. I mean, one of the other awful things that's going on in Xinjiang. And yes, I mean, these are their messages to America. And just last week, they had a semi-official sort of one of Deng Xiaoping's translators on Australia 60 Minutes, threatening Australia with Armageddon was the word he used, if Australia came to America's aid in any type of Taiwan contingency. So, you know, this regime has been threatening everybody in the region, and certainly us as well. So I think we really have to, as a country, you know, get a handle on what we're dealing with. And I think above all, that has to do with the economic side. You know, we have to remain the world's largest economy, and we have to start containing China's economy. That means cutting down capital going into China, cutting down technology going into China, and starting to reduce what we buy from there. I mean, we want to diversify to other countries and other sources and secure our own supply chains and rebuild our industrial base so that this place, you can't depend on an enemy state as your industrial base or as your key supply chain. You just can't do that. So I think, you know, in tonight's summit, there are a lot of things that are going to come up, but hopefully, you know, Biden will be buying himself a little time to take action on these things. But we need the business community to act. We need them to get the picture.
Yeah, I'll just point out that, you know, Taiwan is the global center for semiconductor chips, and Afghanistan is another important center for rare earth materials. No wonder China wants to acquire, pretty much be dominant in both places. And the Biden administration has enabled it with the botched withdrawal from Afghanistan and the no comment on Taiwan. Real quick, Jonathan.
Well, certainly we're going to have to be able to have a secure allied supply chain. I mean, whether that's principally in North America or in the United States or in the allied world, you're going to have to be able to pull yourself out of harm's way, and you can't rely on China. And it also shows you some of the importance of Taiwan here. I mean, this is on the one hand, the military geography, American sort of credibility in the region, and certainly as the nexus of semiconductors and microelectronics. I mean, we're going to have to take that all very, very seriously, but we're going to have to, you know, rebuild a capability of our own forthwith.
Jonathan, thanks very much.